unfortunate event in our society, in our world. I can't even begin to put into words how even just watching the news and seeing all the lives lost, or people that I know, and then knowing other people or their loved ones who have lost their lives or who have been sick or harmed, or even through the businesses that have suffered from this such unfortunate event, which COVID-19. And I say that in the most sincere way of it being that it is such an unfortunate event, but at the same time, I see it as also an opportunity for all of us who are still here, who are still able to continue in our world. And what do I mean by an opportunity? What I mean is, in terms of being able to self reflect, to have a moment to say, am I really, truly living out who it is that I showed up in this world to be? The ripple that I came here to create. Because I think many of us actually, before this whole incident, were actually really just going day to day, boom, 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 in the routine of everything. And many of us were living lives that we didn't like. We were doing things that we didn't want to do. We were pushing off our passions and things that dreams within us, saying that we'll do it at a later time. But that we don't have any more time. The time is right now, because with all that's happening in the world, someone could be waiting on you, your ripple effect that you need to make in order to move forward, and the ripple effect that they are going to make. You see, that's how ripple effects work. Each of us is a ripple effect in some way. Each of us is providing some type of inspiration, some type of um, action, some type of encouragement in some way. And when we decide to sit back and not pursue what it is that we came here to do, we unfortunately cause possibly others and future generations to do the same. Or either we are then allowed or pushed off to the side, and someone else is then moving forward in the calling that was placed on our lives. I'm really big into quotes, so I will be saying a number of them during this talk. But one of my other favorite quotes is by Marianne Williamson, and you may have heard this quote before, that our deepest fear is not that we aren't adequate, it is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us, something like that, and I kind of construe the word sometimes. What she's saying, though, is as it continues, that as we let our light shine, we unconsciously allow other people to do the same. And it's sad that, because within this whole quote, there's a moment in there where it goes into the idea of, we say to ourselves, who am I to do this? Who am I to be this, to be gorgeous, to be talented, to be all these things? And I think many times we have allowed ourselves to sit in our own doubt, to question ourselves, to cast down our belief, to feel like we don't want to outshine other people, to not make people feel uncomfortable, or to make people feel inadequate. And the thing is, your moving forward and being a ripple in the world actually is catalyzing other people to do the same thing that you may not even realize. So I'll take you on my journey right now into what I learned about this idea in terms of the ripple effect, and how I just am so passionate about it. This idea of the ripple effect of you. So, as a young girl, I suffered from many different things in terms of mental health things. Like, I had depression, I had eating disorders, and other issues as well. And it was a really hard time for me, especially when I was in high school, when I was really going through these things. And I remember feeling so alone, and like, why was I having to deal with all of this? I just wanted to just be happy, to be normal, like all of my other people, or other people in my high school. And then one day, as I was walking around, just kind of trying to figure out what to do, and I was a freshman, I ended up stumbling upon my high school's television station, and I was so just excited to see all this equipment, to see that we had a TV station in our high school. I was like, this is so cool. And what ended up happening is, not only did I connect with the television advisor, and he loved my personality, and he invited me to host shows for the television station. I had to audition and all these things. But I also realized that I could use the things that I was going through to help other people in my own creative way. So as a young girl, I always loved to write, and I loved to create content. And I realized I also like to create shows. I would come home, I'm going to watch like Oprah with my mom. And I was like, this is cool, because maybe I could just have like my own talk show here. So myself and a friend of mine, we created a show. focused on teen issues. And we would have different peers of ours come on the show. We would talk about different issues that we were going through. And we would bring on like a doctor and a psychologist on. And I was only 14 at the time. But it was so amazing to me to see how I could literally use something that may have been such a shameful thing, with depression and eating disorders and all these other things. I could use these experiences to help other people who are also going through them, for us all to collectively come together and share our experiences. Um, Being a naive teenager, I was like, oh, as I continued in high school, I really didn't know what I really wanted to do after high school, but I knew I loved hosting shows. I knew I loved everything related to content creation. I was talking to my television advisor one day, and he says, Ashley, you could do this as a career. It's like what they do on the news. I was like, oh, right. So then that then led me to go to the University of Southern California, go Trojans, fight on, where I eventually would major in broadcast and digital journalism. And I also minored in international relations and Spanish in order to have also the ability to connect with even more audiences around the world. And as I was in journalism school, I also would seek out opportunities to intern at various media companies. I probably interned possibly at too many, but I wanted to learn as much as I could because I was just so gun ho to figure out how I could use my passions of helping young people to change the world through content. So I interned at NBC News, like Dateline and Nightly News, and eventually the Today Show. I also did People Magazine, BBC Mundo, CNN, blah, 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 Good Morning America. I could keep going on, but I interned at a lot of different places. I was pretty busy, but it was still, as much as it was, I had my moments of saying to myself, who am I to be able to get these opportunities and to do this? And many times as I was walking in these newsrooms, having to feel courageous, like I could be there and that I could do what I was there to do. But there were moments for me of realizing that each of us has our own unique gifts, callings, and things that we love doing that really align with the impact that we were called here to make in this world. After college, I would eventually go on to work for NBC News, where I worked for their network news. And I also worked for a station in Baltimore called WBAL, a radio station. And then I also worked for USA Today, where I was a reporter and I hosted a show. And I also managed a series for them called Inspiration Nation, which really not only drew me to this idea of creating types of like uplifting, authentic content, but through that whole experience and talking to many of the interns through all my career, because usually I was one of the younger people in the newsroom, I realized that I wanted to figure out how could I help young people to be able to get into these careers of media and marketing, taking what I've learned, my blessings that I had received in order to help them to get to where they wanted to be. And that's where my company Razar came in, which focuses on the ripple effect. But as I was going through these journeys and having these opportunities, it wasn't always easy. Many times it was not. I remember one time I was at NBC and I had this situation with one of my bosses who was kind of crazy. I hate to say that word, but whatever else. And I was so hurt by how he would, because he would just kind of yell at people or talk to people in such a demeaning way. And I went into the hall, and one of my bosses came in, my former bosses from another show, and she just comforted me and mentored me. And I was just like, this is just crazy. All these things, and like people telling you what you can do, what you can't do, just people making you feel like who do you think you are, and I think many times it's okay. Of course, there are moments when we need the humbling experiences, and I love those because it allows you to build character, and that was great for me at that point in time. But I think sometimes we tend to allow these experiences to really push us down and making us feel like, who am I to create this change, to start this company, or to do whatever it is that I aspire to do later in my life or right now in my life, et cetera, et cetera. And so from those experiences, it is it is not only, for me, realizing that it's not only vital for each of us to push through that stuff, but it is imperative. Because again, as we look around the world and what is happening, I really believe many of this has to do with the fact that so many of us have just decided to settle, to stay comfortable, to allow what others people's criticisms are, their criticism of us, or experiences where we get challenged and we feel like we just can't continue on, to let us stay in these moments where we don't become the ripple effect that we wish to see in the world, where we just stay where we are. And I really want to leave you with 5 things that I really feel will help to catapult you to believe in the fact that there is indeed a calling on your life. You are a ripple in the world that we need, and there is something for you to do. And only you are the one who can discover what that one thing is. I ask you to ask out loud, or just even as you're writing things down to yourself regarding your purpose, to really ponder on what is it that you want to do? Who is it that you want to be? How do you want to be remembered? Because the thing is, you only have one life. That's it. One life. You showed up here this one time in this world right now at this time to be here right now. So, what is it that you're going to do while you're here? And there's no say as to when, God forbid, but it is just a part of our journeys here being human beings, when the expiration on your life is going to end. We know your birthday, or your birthday in that sense, but we don't know the date in between. So what are you going to do with the middle? You know, don't be, as Ben Franklin once said, a person who, and he was talking about, I guess, some of his friends or people that he knew, who actually die when they're like 25, but they actually physically die at 75. Don't be one of those people. Don't be one of those people who feels like it doesn't matter. You don't matter. And I know that's easier said than done, but when you really take a look and retrospect at who you are, why you're here, the impact that you even have on the lives around you, you will see that that impact alone is enough to create a huge catapult, a ripple effect of a catapult, I should say, into the world. So let's talk about the first one. The first one is believe in yourself. And we'll call these 5 rules of life to take with you to be that ripple effect that we know you are. Now, when I say believe in yourself, the reason why I want to say that first is because I know it sounds kind of cliche. It's one of those things that people always, many times people put on these little pins or like these little quote things, whatever. Believe in yourself. Yeah, right. But it's easier said than done. And I totally get that. Many times people will ask me about my journey with Razar, and they'll say to me, hey, so what's been, or during interviews or something, what's been the hardest part of your journey? And honestly, despite all of the many challenges with starting a company, because we're in our 5th year, which I'm so thankful for, but it's been a huge journey even in those 5 years. um, but the real thing is, it's been believing in myself, because I don't come from a business background. My parents are not business individuals. I never knew really anyone close to me that had been in business except for my grandfather, but unfortunately he died when I was younger. He's an entrepreneur. So I really didn't have an understanding of what it took to really build a company, and let alone if I had that capability. And along my journey, I've experienced all sorts of things from people, from um, you don't have what it takes to do XYZBD. Who do you think you are? It's already been kind of done. You're not needed. Blah 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 blah. Just, and so at a certain point, I just said, you know what? Thank you so much for your opinion, but it's just like another one that I really just don't need. So just um, and I did. And I mean, there are still moments, where I can maybe try to, someone will tell something to me and I can either take it in or take it out. But that's the thing. I have the decision. Like, you have the decision of whether you take something in or you leave it out. And so for me, believing in myself, and I think for many of us, it's really just thinking that we really do all things? Are all things really possible? Do I really have this thing within me that, regardless of whatever challenge that I have, I can really overcome it? Like, I will be guided, I will be lifted, I will be encouraged within myself. I can encourage myself to keep moving forward. Yes, you can. So the main thing is, if you believe in yourself, you inherently, as you keep going, you will find that you will attract the resources, the people, the things, blah, 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 everything that you need to shape you into who you need to be the ripple effect in the world that we need to see. So just continue to believe in yourself. Say affirmations to yourself if you have to. I sometimes do in the morning when I'm getting ready, or during the day before a big meeting. I'll say affirmations to myself when I'm a little nervous. But it's important though, because if you don't believe in yourself, why should anyone else? You have to value yourself and who you are and what you bring to the table. And sure enough, you really do. Each of us has our own unique traits for being here, our own unique personalities, character, etc., etc., etc. You are valuable. Tap into that. Number two, surround yourself with people who lift you higher. And I know Oprah always says that, and she has, and other people have said it too. But I can't tell you how much I realize this is so important along your journey to fulfilling your dream and the calling on your life. As we've already said, we can sometimes be our own harshest critics. So why should we then surround ourselves with people who also are actually critics to us in the physical? Why should we surround ourselves with people who only hurt us in the sense of their horrible habits, their horrible thoughts, or just things that they do where they're not getting themselves where they need to be? Why should we keep putting ourselves around those people? It's a question that I ask, and I even have asked myself at times when I've allowed people to stay too long in my life when they shouldn't have stayed there. Yeah, I know some of us can relate to that. Yeah, you need to just cut those people out. Again, because you have an expiration on your life. We don't know, God forbid, when it is that you're going to leave this world. Therefore, you need to let those people go so you can get about your business and get about to doing what it is that you're called here to be. So I know that's easier said than done, but just think about it. It's your purpose compared to leaving people in your life who don't need to be there. Do you really want to sacrifice what it is that you came here to do just because you don't want to hurt people's feelings? You don't want to make people feel bad. You don't want to make people think that. I mean, I guess in the sense of when you're letting them go, that you think that you're better than them, and that's not the case because you don't. But you have to be proactive in getting about what it is that you need to do. So that means you need to let those people go. I was also going to say too, it's really important with these people to realize that maybe you don't let them like seriously go like, cut. If you feel like it's harder for you to do that, but just slowly distance yourself. Just say when they call, hey, you want to go someplace, or you want to do no? Do you want to no? Over time, they'll get the hint. They'll take a step back. They'll see maybe you're busy, and you'll also then attract better people to show up in your life. People who will inspire you, encourage you, people who are, in the sense, kind of doing what it is in their own purposes of what it is that will inspire you to get about doing your purpose too. So I think it's really important for you to realize you need to surround yourself with people who lift you higher. All right, number three, research. So, as a former debater at USC, go Trojans! I want to say that it is so important for you to do the research on what it is that you want to do. Now, granted, you can surround yourself with people who can help you and provide you with information and mentors and advisors, etc. But you also need to know things for yourself. That means you need to show up and get to doing and getting the information that you need. It's so great that we have Google now. How great is it that we have Google, or we have all these other books, resources, how connected the world is through globalization, that you're able to get access to so much information that can help you to get to where it is that you want to be, or that you can connect with anyone literally in the world so easily now with the internet. You can easily message someone on LinkedIn, email someone about getting to, like, scheduling a meeting or something. It's so easy to do. Yet so many people don't do it because they're scared of rejection. They feel like it's just too much work, blah, blah, blah. But this is what it takes. Tapping into your purpose and becoming who you are is not going to be easy. And the more you understand what it is that you need to know, and that you're willing to put in the work to realize what it is that you need to know and be aware of, the more capable you will be in actually fulfilling it. I have found that when I've reached out to people, just asking them, can I have like 5 to 10 minutes of your time just to ask you a few questions? Just literally randomly reaching out to random people, not like, but people in the specialty areas that I'm trying to look for like our company or other things. And I have found that most people are very generous with their time. And if they're not, then it's okay. There are other people in the world who I'm sure could provide me with information. But I would suggest just feeling this sense of encouragement for you to move forward in doing that. And you'll find that it will be very, very helpful for you in moving forward with what it is that you were called here to do. All right, number 4, be brave, be courageous, be your own superhero. One of my favorite movies is Wonder Woman. And I like Wonder Woman show that was out years ago, but the most recent Wonder Woman I really can kind of relate to in that sense. Um, there were moments when people, even her own mom, when she was on her journey to getting rid of the I think it was the war god, or like the evil in the world, I'm really disappointed in you for doing this. I don't think you know what you're up against. People around her would tell her just to sit back, let us do it, we'll figure it out. And there was a moment when she actually did. She kind of caved into what they told her to do and what they, thought that she should be doing. And as a result, all these lives were lost because she decided to listen to these people who were basically telling her she was incapable of tapping into the purpose that was within her to do. The thing that woke her, the thing that angered her, that she wanted to rectify and fix. Thankfully, as the movie continues, we see that she did become courageous enough to tell them, you all can just shut it because this is what I came here to do and I'm going to go do it. And she did. So I ask you then, what do you need to do today? What is it that you need to do this year in terms of tapping into your bravery, in terms of being courageous? What awakens you and helps you to just believe in what's possible? What do you need to step into? What fear do you need to face? You're going to have many moments when you need to be courageous along your journey right now. And it's okay. I know it's going to be hard sometimes to be courageous because there's a lot of things that we're up against. It's going to be hard sometimes for you to believe in yourself and have the courage to believe in yourself. There's going to be times you're going to have where you're going to try to have the courage to believe in what was placed in you. But the thing is, what I realize more and more, it's not about letting go of the fear. It is about pushing past the fear. It is about deciding that regardless if I am scared, regardless if I don't know, regardless if I feel alone, regardless of the circumstances, whatever it is, I can still push past all of that and keep moving forward. I can tap into the superhero within me. I urge you every day moving forward to show up, to face your fears, to do things that you thought you never could do, to surprise yourself as you do it. Because what you always end up finding, and what I have found, that the more I face my fears, the more things actually can happen. It's almost like the universe is waiting on me to say, okay, I'm going to try. And then once I try, normally I'm so surprised. 9 times out of 10, what I am seeking is also seeking me. So be courageous. And lastly, I want to say, I guess all these are kind of my favorite in that sense, but my most favorite is really tap into your intuition. I think as we're going in our journeys, many times we tend to second guess ourselves. We allow this little voice to tell us otherwise, that you don't know. That's not true. Maybe I should reconsider. Blah, 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 blah. And what I've continued to find is that this little voice is often the negative voice, right? That's wrong. But the other side of it, there's another voice in there that's actually so true and so right. This is the voice of our intuition, our instinct, that is guiding us, that is helping us to evolve, to give us encouragement, to give us advice to keep going, to tell us things that we don't know so we don't make mistakes. Or at least when we make mistakes that we can, so that we don't have to make mistakes and learn the lesson in that, which can be a beautiful thing in of itself as well. But at least so that we don't have to be harmed or to be just to have to not go through things that we don't need to go through. But many times we're so careful, or we're so scared, we're so like doubtful of our own selves that we don't listen to our intuition, that we end up hurting ourselves. I can't tell you how many times, especially in the beginning of Razar, when I didn't listen to my intuition and it ended up hurting me in the fact, or the company in some way. Thankfully, not to the detriment of myself or the company, but it just sucked. I was like, why didn't I listen to that thought that just came? Why didn't I do that? And more, as I realized that every time it was telling me to do something that was actually right, I have decided to make the choice that even if I don't know the information on the other side of that right of what it's telling me to do, I'm still going to move forward and just trusting that it is leading me to something that I need to know that's better. So I urge you Again, to listen to that intuition within you. If it's telling you about an idea and you're thinking, oh, well, it probably already exists in the world, or like, I don't think it's anything unique. You keep moving forward. Wouldn't you be mad if someone ended up doing that idea and then you just had sat on it thinking that it wasn't anything, but it ended up being something? Yeah, don't do that. Or that person that might be wrong for you to hang out with, and your instinct is telling you, don't hang out with them. But then you go do it anyway because you think they're cool, it's popular, or like they're just fun, it's no big deal. Don't do that. It's almost like a little parent in our head. But it's okay. It's a great parent in that sense because it's normally just helping us in our journeys, and it's always just there to encourage us, to guide us, and to be a light for us as we pursue the ripple effect that we're here to do. So as I leave here today, I just want to share with you one more thing, and that is, when it comes to what the impact is that you can create in the world, I want you to think about the people in the world who created the world. And particularly, I want to focus on this documentary that I love called The Men Who Built America. Not sure if any of you are familiar with it. But essentially, in the documentary, it chronicles the stories of Andrew Carnegie, John D. Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, Ford, and JP Morgan. Now, JP Morgan was pretty amazing. He's one of my favorite entrepreneurs, but he did have the resources and the background to be able to do what he wanted to do. But the other ones, they came from impoverished backgrounds. There was no Google to look up anything. There was no, globalization of everyone being connected and together. Everything was just plain. I mean, they didn't even have bridges at the time, let alone skyscrapers. But yet, they used all of those 5 things that I told you in order to be able to create the ripple effect that they wanted to see in the world. They believed in themselves. They surrounded themselves with people who could help them on their journeys to get to where they wanted to go. They did the research, whatever the research it was that they had of books and things, or went to talk to people to be able to figure out what they needed to know. They were brave, even when things were going really, really wrong. And they had so many challenges and they were trying to figure out how they were going to continue. They still had the courage to take one more step. And they trusted their intuition that ended up changing industries, creating industries that we still have today. Think about gasoline, for example. Yeah, so when Rockefeller was creating that one gasoline company, Standard Oil, that ended up having to be broken up, unfortunately, through antitrust. But now that makes up all of the gasoline companies today, right? Chevron, whatever. Well, we'll go on the name of them. But anyways, the point is, you have it. If they could do it, and they were not geniuses in any sense, and they were able to create the ripple effect that they wanted to see in the world, what makes you any different? So thank you so much for letting me talk with you today about being a ripple in the world. And I hope that it inspired you. You feel informed and empowered. And feel free to reach out to me if I can ever offer any inspiration to you.
Thanks, Ashley. We have a couple questions if you still have some time with us today.
Yeah, sure.
So one of the questions that we have is, do you feel that based on demographics, whether it's male, female, younger, older, who has the harder time being the ripple or becoming the ripple?
I don't necessarily do, but I guess research shows, unfortunately, many times women, we tend to second guess ourselves. We like even in a job, for example, we want to go for a better paying job or like a greater opportunity, and we see that there's a couple of things in there that we don't fit. Research shows that we're more likely not to apply to the job compared to men, where they will just go ahead and do so. Kudos to you, men. So I think we tend to doubt ourselves more, unfortunately. And the thing though is we have so much of these wonderful personality things as well that we often have, even, I mean, no offense to the men, but even greater impact, research shows, especially even in business as entrepreneurs, where not only we create great businesses, but we have a lot of empathy and in terms of creating in culture, in terms of impact. So we often are the ones that do, and I think we can push forward in that. I hate to make that claim, but it is true with research and as it shows, but I think we can change it as more and more of us show up in the world.
Mm-hmm. And if you had to choose 3 people that you wanted to be in your puddle to make a ripple with you, who would those 3 people be?
It's funny. Someone asked that because I like write a list sometimes of things that to manifest them. But it's funny. One of them is Sarah Blakely, who I just wrote that, like mentors I would love to have. Robert F. Smith. He's of a Vista Partners, and probably if I could bring them back to life, even though he could be a little bit trite sometimes, either Rockefeller, who could be trite, or either Andrew Carnegie, if I could put them in my quick.
Great. Well, I do know, coming out of everything that we've been all living through in the world for the past 3 to 4 months, some longer, I hope everybody comes out when we come out of the pandemic and becomes a ripple. So we can't thank you enough. We truly appreciate your support of Campus Parties USA's first digital event. We hope that we'll see you next year at our in-person event in July in Detroit. So thank you again, and we wish you a great weekend.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here and for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Dashcam video of fatal crash involving self-driving car.
And the drastic changes in our marine.
Antibiotic-resistant bacteria could result in 10 million deaths.
China just had its second warmest year, going back at least 1.5
sickle cell
millennia.
disease leads to misshapen red blood cells.
Today, we hunt for answers. We push boundaries and tackle problems head on.
Today, we challenge ourselves to be innovative, creative, and daring.
To take risks and make mistakes. We strive.
We fail. We persevere. We get back up and find a better way.
Today, we learn.
We learn from our environment.
We learn from each other.
And we learn from the communities we seek to serve.
We combine our strengths to pursue the common good. Today, at Michigan, we work.
And our work will shape tomorrow.